wife and I have saved 71,000 children from trafficking just in the last 7 years, working with some of the best organizations. I've gone out on those undercover in multiple different groups.
What do you mean you've gone out undercover?
I went to Haiti undercover with a group of former Navy SEALs, SEAL Team 6 guys, and a couple CIA guys that are brilliant. And we went down to rescue 32 children, and they were from 6 different madams. And these were 14-year-old girls and boys, but mostly girls, and chained to a bed doing 8 to 10 tricks a day.
And you saw this?
I unfortunately experienced it. I pretended that I was coming here, this very wealthy guy, with 30 of my friends. And so we rented this place, and we couldn't tell the police because the police are involved. So the only person who knew was the prime minister, the president. And so we worked everything out, and then he was going to have his special forces group come in at the very end. But we had to film it and trap it. I'm seeing things that you can't unsee, unfortunately. The worst part of, I wouldn't call it humanity because these people aren't human. And at the last moment on the boat, someone said, "You're Tony Robbins." I was like, holy shit, it was my voice. It didn't matter, my voice is so distinctive, then they'd heard it. And while it's going on, I'm watching one of the guys who's this brilliant guy doing this negotiation, and he's so convincing, he's so enthusiastic, and we want the young ones and all that stuff, he's on our side of the table. Everything's being filmed. We're right off the beach, and then on the beach, there's a place where they're gonna go get the children, and that's got all filming in it. And as he's doing it, there was 3 men and a woman, and the woman had intuition, and I could sense her. She senses something's off. Fortunately, we got it done. We went on there, and then the special forces people didn't show up.
Oh, shit.
And we're freaking out. So the last second they show up, we had to leave the country because also the police come, they'll put us in jail, right? So we rescued all these kids. It's the worst thing I've ever seen and the most beautiful things I've ever seen when the freedom is there. And then we funded for them, the integration process to come back from that when you've been through so much trauma. It's pretty amazing, and we use a lot of the tools that I've developed there.
Kudos to you, Tony Robbins, for doing a job that is humanitarian. Kudos to you. Kudos to those who commit humanitarian works. But we have had the worst, and I must say this, you are one of the guys that I ultimately respect. I've listened to your tapes, I've listened to your motivation, I've listened to the way you speak, and you are such an awe-inspiring person. But I have to say, people like yourself, motivators, who've lived their lives and have earned their money and have done really well. People like yourself, I believe, have not come forward, and we have had the greatest genocide being committed. Well, I won't say greatest, but we have had a genocide being committed in front of our eyes that has been live. I mean, you know what I'm talking about, the Middle East. I've not heard you mention anything about that. I've not heard you mention anything about saving those kids. I've not heard you mention any politicizing on what's been going on over there, where kids have been obliterated and destroyed and annihilated, and their lives don't matter, and schools have been bombed, etc. Not only that, doctors have been murdered, hospitals have been destroyed, little children sniped. I've not heard you say anything about that. I've not heard you denounce the evils of the American foreign policy with Joe Biden and what they were funding by giving arms to Israel to bomb these kids, to carpet bomb the innocents, people on IV monitors being monitored, burned alive. I've not heard you mention anything about this. It's okay coming on board and saying I went with SEAL Team 6 and I did this, and respect to that. But when we have witnessed a genocide in front of our eyes, where have you motivators been? I don't want any of you to play self-righteous. The greatest man that ever lived said, ancient text says, get away from me, you workers of lawlessness. Now, I'm not saying you're one of those. I'm not saying that. It's for him to decide. But a lot of people have looked the other way and not even reacted to what's gone on in the Palestinian conflict. And those kids are suffering. Life did not matter and has not mattered. And excuses have been made by the American people. Excuses have been made to justify what's happened. You cannot justify where potential of 300,000 have been killed. We don't really know the exact numbers where people are buried under the rubble. But I expected you to speak about these things, Tony Robbins. I expected you to lift your hand up to humanity. But I've not heard anything. And I'll call you out. Les Brown, Tony Robbins, all those motivational speakers in America that can speak excellent motivation, but have not come forward. What use is it for you to have good communication skills and have all these tools and develop people and yet not speak about the things that are going on that you should be groaning and moaning about, that it speaks about in the final part of the days? What use is it if you cannot save and denounce the evils, the heinous criminalities that are being committed, that have been shown to be war crimes according to the ICJ, International Court of Justice? What use is it if you can't denounce evil? Vikas Chopra, the Workers' Party, UK, over and out.